Monday from some of your peers, General Milley, about the possibility that this is going to affect readiness. One actually called it potentially catastrophic. What are your thoughts on that, and how is it going to impact service members and their families?
Yeah, so first, in terms of the cost of F-16s, it's no surprise to anybody that this will be expensive. And the Chairman and I and my undersecretaries have been clear about this throughout. I want to thank Congress for its bipartisan support that we've enjoyed throughout our efforts to provide security assistance to Ukraine. And the congressional support, as you know, is a major element in our ability to help Ukraine in the way that we have. I've also, the conversation that I've had with my counterparts, as we begin to frame out requirements for training and maintenance and sustainment, is that this costs money. And not every country has F-16s or is able to chime in terms of training or maintenance and sustainment, but they can provide monetary assistance. And so what I think you'll see our colleagues look to do is establish a fund so that other countries can contribute to this overall effort. But again, this should be an international effort. And I think because of that, I think hopefully our Congress will be supportive, as they have been throughout going forward.
On the debt ceiling piece, Louis, I'm not an economist, but I think if we defaulted, that would have significant economic consequences, which would then translate into national security consequences. Paying troops, the morale of troops, weapon systems, contracts, all of that would be impacted. Readiness clearly would be impacted, so our large-scale exercises that we do at various training centers would probably either slow down or come to a halt in many, many cases. So I think there's no doubt whatsoever that there would be a very significant negative impact on the readiness, morale, and capabilities of the United States military if we defaulted and didn't reach a debt ceiling thing, as well as reputational damage internationally and so on. I think I wouldn't characterize it, I wouldn't use words, to say catastrophic or not. I'm not an economist, but I think it would be very, very significant without a doubt, and it would have absolutely clear, unambiguous implications in national security.
Okay. Last question very quickly. Yep. Sorry, we got to move on. Last question, Tom Bowman, NPR.
Mr. Secretary, you talked to some senior officers, retired senior officers, and they were kind of confused about the strategy here. Is it to help Ukraine win a decisive victory over Russia, or is it more modest and try to get them a better hand at the negotiating table? And for General Milley, Henry Kissinger recently gave an interview to The Economist magazine. He said both Russia and Ukraine will have to give up territory in any deal. Both will be dissatisfied, but he worries war could erupt again because Ukraine is being so heavily armed, and they also have, quote, the least strategically experienced leadership in Europe. Your thoughts on that?
So in terms of the goals and objectives of Ukraine's campaign, we'll let the Ukrainians decide what that will be. Our goal, as I've said so many times, is to make sure that we're providing them what they need to be able to defend their sovereign territory. I will remind everybody that this is a country that's in a fight, in a pretty significant fight, and what we've been doing, and it's really artful, and I applaud the Ukrainians on their ability to kind of grow into this. We've been taking troops out of the fight and training them on sophisticated platforms, and then putting those troops back in the fight, all while they're fighting. And while this seems simple to many, it is very, very complicated and not without risk. And so you have to balance the scales throughout. And the more sophisticated that equipment gets, the more critical that the training, the maintenance, and sustainment becomes. And so, again, we have been focused on giving them what they need to be successful. And, as things evolve, our security assistance has evolved over time as well.
So, Tom, thanks for asking a very easy question from the former National Security Advisor, Henry Kissinger. So I looked at yes, I saw that, 100 years old. So look at, it would take a lot longer than the few seconds I have to answer that question fully. I would just say this for the time being. All wars come to an end sooner or later. And they either come within one side winning or the other side winning, or they come to a negotiated settlement. This war, militarily, is not going to be won by Russia. It's just not. There are strategic objectives that they laid out, which was the conquest of the territory called Ukraine, the unseating of the Zelensky government, the capture of Kyiv. Those strategic objectives went away a year ago, really, shortly after they invaded, when Putin readjusted his strategic objectives to just grab Luhansk and the whole Donbass area. So the strategic objectives that Russia set out to achieve are not achievable militarily. They're not going to be done. At the same time, the Ukrainian strategic objectives are to liberate all of Russian-occupied Ukraine. There's a couple 100,000 Russian troops in Russian-occupied Ukraine. That might be achievable militarily, but probably not in the near term. So what does that mean? That means fighting is going to continue. It's going to be bloody. It's going to be hard. And at some point, both sides will either negotiate a settlement or they'll come to a military conclusion at some point in the future, and we'll continue to support Ukraine in its fight for its own freedom. But as to his particular comments about giving up land, not land, et cetera, that's for those political leaders to decide. It's certainly not for me to decide it.
Engagement workshops. Let's give those organizations a hand among so many more that will be doing a number of activities throughout the summer. These are just a few examples of the positive neighborhood activations that will be taking place during Memorial Day weekend and the June gap period, in addition to a wide range of efforts that will span through the summer and into the start of the fall as school commences. In closing, the PSPC Coalition of Funders is excited and proud for this first opportunity to partner with our new mayor, Brandon Johnson. A special thank you goes out to our 253 community partners for acting with courage, leadership, and tenacity in caring for your neighbors, supporting young people through services and pro-social activities, and saying no to violence and yes to peace. You are the true heroes, and we applaud you for all that you do to create safe and peaceful communities. So thank you very much. And with that, I will bring up Martin Cabrera, CEO of Cabrera Capital.
Good afternoon. My name is Martin Cabrera, CEO of Cabrera Capital. I want to thank Mayor Brandon Johnson and his whole administration, as well as all of the agency heads and the agencies, for really leaning into some of these programs. I think when when the call came out from Charles Smith and reaching out to the business community, I was happy to join and support. And I grew up in a little village at Petrowski Park, so being at the Park District and in some of those community programs, I know that they work. They help these students and they help these kids and keep them active and involved and in the communities. And that's why, kind of for the private sector, I would encourage all of the private sector to get involved and be supportive of these programs as well. It's something that's needed, but it's something that truly works. And we're very supportive of this, and we're happy to be part of this program and looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
So the one thing I want to make sure we make mention of, in programs like this, you can never underscore the significance of the community. Without these types of collaborations, community from businesses, philanthropic, and also the community who plays as essential a role as anyone else, you can't accomplish the goals that we want to accomplish. With that being said, I'd like to introduce some of our community partners, Matt, Rob, and Tamar.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rob Castaneda. I'm the co-founder and executive director of Beyond the Wall, located in South Lawndale Village. This whole South Side, West Side conversation, I got to be careful because I originally grew up on 81st and South Shore Drive in South Chicago, but I spent the last 25 years in Little Village, South Lawndale, and so I got family in both, so I'm going to remain neutral. But we're here today because we love Chicago. And we're here today to let people know about what's going to be happening this weekend. I'd like to thank the Johnson administration, Mayor Johnson and his people. This is our first time working with them, right? This Memorial Day weekend. And what my experience has been, they've listened and they've responded to what they've listened to. We're excited and proud to be having an event this weekend associated with Chicago's collective safety strategy at the Gary Ortiz campus over